The Astros locked up their starting pitching stud in Christian Javier to a 5-year, $64 million contract extension. Now, this extension means Houston secures the 25-year-old righty through the remainder of his arbitration-eligible years, not to mention contract eats up the first 2 years of which Javier would have been eligible to hit free agency. Now, the Javier deal itself comes just one day after the Astros hired their new GM in Dana Brown. Now, Brown was previously with the Atlanta Braves through the 2019 and 22 season, where he was the VP of their scouting department. Now, when Brown was first introduced to Houston, he made it very clear that his goal was to lock up their young studs. Guys like Christian Javier, Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, and even keeping Jose Altuve in Houston for the remainder of his career. Brown started off on the right foot here in signing Javier to the 5-year extension, not to mention he came to an agreement with Kyle Tucker, albeit through arbitration. Tucker lost his arbitration case to the Astros. He was seeking $7.5 million, but it turns out since he lost the case, he will receive $5 million for the 2023 season. So I think the Javier deal for Houston is great. A lot of people are saying that, oh, this is just a dirt cheap contract and that Javier got the short end of the stick here. First, nobody can get a short end of a stick when they're making over $1 million a year, okay? That's reason number one. Number two, he's only had 3 years in the league. Only 2 full big league seasons. 2022 was the first time he made over 20 starts, and it was the first time he had an ERA under 3.5 for the season. So let's stop treating him as if he, was a 2006 Justin Verlander. Instead, we should just all be patient and see how his career turns out. I mean, he's only had one basically full season in the big leagues. That was last year. I mean, he was great. He was a really good pitcher. I mean, his rookie season was a shortened season. I mean, he had a winning record, but only 4-1 back in 2021. And this year, yeah, he ended up with over 10 wins. I know wins don't mean anything. Had an ERA under 3.5, which is great. That's awesome. He had the most amount of strikeouts in his career, just under 200. So, I mean, this season was a breakout season for him, no doubt. But that doesn't mean you should give him the world. Also, if you look at this contract in relation to Bo Bichette only got 3 years at $33.5 million from the Blue Jays. Bo is only making a couple $100,000 less per year than Javier right here, and Bo plays every day at shortstop. So I don't know why people are bitching about this contract being cheap in any way. Now, topic number 2, the Marlins and A's have engaged in a trade. Trade is involving left-hander A.J. Puck from the A's for outfielder J.J. Blady. Now, Puck did great work against the lefties as he held them to a 153 batting average with just 3 extra base hits and 85 total at-bats against guys from the left side. Now, I think the Marlins did a nice job here by picking up Puck. I've always liked him. I thought he was going to be a top-tier reliever in the league. I kind of viewed him as a Josh Hader type of guy. He was a big, tall, lanky guy, a lefty. I mean, he could really sling it. It just sucks that injuries got in his way of really blossoming in this league. So I think by him getting traded from Oakland to Miami is a great thing for him, and I think he'll kind of reinvent himself in South Florida and get some more opportunities to pitch in games for the Marlins. Now, topic number 3, speaking of the Marlins, the organization announced that they'll be bringing back the classic teal uniforms that they sported during their inaugural 1991 season. This is in celebration of 30 years as being an official Major League franchise, and I think this is awesome. I love the teal. I think the Marlins uniforms from back then were one of the best uniforms in all of baseball. I'm going to go there with it. I love their teal. I love their black uniforms they wore in 03 when they won with Miggy, and in 1997 when they won with Craig Counsell and Jim Leyland as their managers. As a matter of fact, right here got the teal hat ready to go, so I can't wait to see the Marlins sport some teal in South Florida once again. Baseball made a pretty cool announcement prior to the Super Bowl in Arizona as MLB on Fox announced that former Yankee and 2020 Hall of Fame inductee Derek Jeter will be a part of their pre- and post-game broadcast team on Fox for the upcoming 2023 season. Now, whosever idea it was to announce Jeter joining the broadcast team prior to the Super Bowl, give him a raise. This was a really good marketing decision by baseball. This is what they should do from now on. I mean, make announcements during the Super Bowl. And as a matter of fact, I think baseball should make a Super Bowl ad specifically for their season and play it during the Super Bowl. Because again, everybody knows, when the Super Bowl's over, that means football is done and baseball is right around the corner. So I think they should go a step further next year, make a Super Bowl ad, which I think the Mets actually did. They probably played it locally. I did not see it living in Michigan. But they should make a Super Bowl ad, promote the sport during the Super Bowl. You got millions of people watching. Your sport is the next sport up to start its season. It's right around the corner. I think that'd just be such a great marketing move by baseball. And right here is a great start by announcing Derek Jeter as part of the team prior to kickoff for Super Bowl 57. Team USA lost a critical piece regarding their pitching staff, as the Yankees' Nestor Cortes will not be a participant in this year's World Baseball Classic after he suffered a grade 2 strain of his right hamstring after running sprints on February the 6th near his home in Miami. Now, Cortes said this in relation to missing the WBC. He said, quote, "I was very excited for the tournament. I wanted to represent Team USA. It's a country that has given me a lot of opportunity to do a lot of stuff that I'm doing today. I'm very disappointed and very sad I can't participate." Now, the Rockies' Kyle Freeland will be his replacement on the Team USA's roster, regardless of him being out for the WBC. The good news for Yankee fans is the team is optimistic, and so is Cortes, that he will be ready for the start of the 23 regular season. And baseball has officially implemented some new rule changes for the 2023 season. Now, they were voted on by the Joint Competition Committee. Now, the vote resulted in the continuation of the runner on second base rule after a full completion of the 9th inning for both teams. Now, the other new rule refers to when position players can appear on the bump. That rule says, starting in 2023, position players can enter the game as a pitcher only if at least one of the following criteria are met. That is, a game is in extra innings, a team is trailing by at least 8 runs at any point during the game, or when a team is winning by at least 10 runs in the 9th inning. Now, this rule was due to a sharp increase in position players appearing on the mound during last season, which stood at 132 total. Now, that number surpassed 2021's total, which stood at only 89. When it comes to these two rules, I like the second rule here about the position players appearing on the bump. I like it. It makes sense. I'm cool with it. But I'm not a big fan of the first rule. It was good for 2020, but I'm not a big fan of it being a mainstay in the game going forward, especially since they're not going to be implementing it during the postseason when games matter the most. To me, I feel like MLB would want to implement the runner on second base rule during the postseason to make games go faster, because those games are being watched by the most amount of people on TV. And the point is to make the games go faster for television specifically. But the fact that they're only going to implement it during the regular season and not the postseason obviously means they don't feel it's exactly fair. Also, if you think about it, what if a team, say the Mariners or something, trying to compete for a wild card spot, they have a runner on second base in the 10th inning, they're playing the Angels or something in September, and they get a runner on second base, in the bottom of the 10th, and boom, base hit, wins the ball game, and they go to the postseason again via a wild card. And then they go to the wild card round, or the ALDS, again, same thing. Game is tied. The only reason why they got there was because of the runner on second base, but now that they're in a tie game in the postseason, they're not going to benefit from that, which means they could lose. So theoretically, you're having a team benefit from the runner on second base rule, which could mean they could earn a postseason spot, but yet you're taking the one thing that helped them get to the postseason away once they made the postseason, which kind of sucks. In my mind, if it's good enough for the regular season, if it's good enough to be the determination of a team's destiny on whether or not they make the postseason, why can't it be a good enough determination on whether or not a team actually wins a championship? But that's all I got. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys later.